So I am both Chinese and Nanai, which is Siberian native, and this has been a part of my upbringing for a really long time. I've been interested in native cultures for pretty much since I was a kid. My grandma used to tell me stories and get me really excited about catching fish out of boats and seals and men and women that would turn into orcas. So just, you know, stuff that the kind of thing that just incites your imagination as a kid. So I spent most of my adult life trying to figure out and learn how indigenous peoples see the world and how they live in the world. And so skin-on-frame kayaks are one of the big ways in which I relearn how native peoples look at the world and how we use technology. I started building from, the very first person I ever built a boat with was a revivalist builder, and so he did a skin-on-frame kayak, and his lineage is from the historians who went to the Arctic back in the early 1900s, and then there has been a tradition of historians that have gone up there and started to preserve that technology as people up there started to lose it. And then after I built it with that guy, that revivalist builder, I then went up and started spending a lot of time with communities of the north, and I've been lucky enough to be around elders who still remember this stuff, and a couple of them have already passed away since the short amount of time that I've known them. And so when they disappear, of course, that's the last little bit of that knowledge.
And that was the,
you know, and also in terms of like woodworking and stuff, people learn a lot of different stuff when they build a boat. So it's not just one type of woodworking. You know, like when you frame a house or something, there's quite a lot of skills involved with boat building. Every step, every half day, there's something completely new. So we do like complicated mortise and tenon joints that are compound angles. We do steam bending. We deal with making forms and lamination, and then finally we do sewing. So we eventually wrap the skins around the frame, and there's quite a lot of techniques used to be able to use the mechanical advantage to draw the skin tight. And finally we do finishes with polyurethane to coat the boats and all that kind of stuff. So it's never boring, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Well, there's definitely a lot of different aspects to it. For me, the most important part of it is the cross-cultural communication. So when people build the boats, they're really excited to do the woodworking and to get an awesome practical boat out of it. But also the bigger part of it actually is seeing people understanding and looking at history. We talk a lot about how kayaks changed the world. We talk a lot about indigenous cultures and where all this stuff came from. And we even talk about, for example, skin-on-frame is not unique to just native cultures around the Arctic. You also see the Irish building it in Currachs and stuff like that. And there are quite a few other places where this kind of technology exists. And so when you look at all this kind of stuff, the more that you look at the world around you, the more that you realize that pretty much humans solve problems very similar ways. And the more that you kind of look at that, it's pretty impressive and really, I guess, I think it's pretty enlightening for everybody to be exposed and look at how history has shaped the world.